been there? You know, you shell out $1,000, maybe even more, for the latest smartphone. Looks great. The marketing's amazing. You get it home, you unbox it, play around, and then it just hits you.
Yeah.
It's basically the same as the last one, just newer, right? Slightly better camera, maybe different screen, but nothing that really, truly blows your mind. Makes you kind of nostalgic for when tech felt revolutionary, like the first iPhone moment. Well, today's deep dive is into this really fascinating concept, I think, that gets right to the heart of why so many modern products seem to miss that mark for us, the actual users. We're talking about something called the constituent trap. And for this, we're looking at the upcoming book, The Constituent Trap, The Hidden Philosophy Ruining Product Design by Luke J.H. Engstrom, plus a YouTube video from the author's channel, Phi8E, called The Idea Economy, a preview to my upcoming book.
That's right. And our mission today really is to unpack this fundamental problem. You know, the one that often leads to products that don't truly serve customers, but serve this array of internal stakeholders instead. We want to kind of shine a light on how these decisions actually get made and maybe what you as a consumer, as a user, can learn from it all. You know, maybe even demand better stuff.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we get too deep, what exactly is this constituent trap? It sounds like something that snares companies, maybe, or us.
Well, at its core, yeah, the constituent trap highlights this really critical distinction in product design. So on one side, you have constituents. These are the internal folks within a company, right?
Yeah.
Executives, directors, marketing teams, sales, even sometimes external groups like regulatory bodies or, political agendas. Their immediate interests often boil down to things like, well, quarterly earnings reports or these abstract KPIs, key performance indicators. Sometimes it's even just internal power struggles. They're essentially fighting over the direction of a product.
Okay, so these are the people inside the company, basically. Their job titles give them a say in what gets built.
Exactly. And then, in stark contrast, you have the customers or users. These are the actual genuine end users, the people who buy and use the thing.
Yeah.
To put it simply, they're the people you should be making your widgets for. That's you sitting at home, just trying to get something done with whatever product it is.
Right. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. So the book argues that often products are designed to appease these internal constituents, not us, the customers. Why does that happen? I mean, what's driving this disconnect?
Yeah, the fundamental problem, as the author puts it, is the lost why. Essentially, the deeper philosophical thinking about a product's real purpose, its value, its ethics, its long-term impact, the human-centered design stuff, that's been largely replaced.
Replaced by what?
Replaced by an over-reliance on KPIs and metrics. Now look, metrics aren't inherently bad, right? They can be useful tools. But the issue is when they become the goal itself, rather than just a measure to help serve the user better. That's when the original why, the whole point of the product, just gets completely lost.
Okay, so it's like the map becomes the territory. Yeah, the measure of success becomes the definition of success instead of the actual user experience. Is that kind of what you mean by the why getting lost?
Specifically, that's a great way to put it. And this shift, it's driven by a few things. Things like the rise of financialization in companies, this intense focus on short-term metrics to keep shareholders happy, increasing regulatory pressures that demand specific boxes be ticked, internal silos too, where departments don't talk or work together effectively, and just this relentless, almost aggressive pursuit of growth. Growth at all costs, really, often without thinking about the real customer value.
Wow, okay. That paints a pretty clear picture of the internal stuff. So what does this mean for the products we actually use every day? The phones, the cars, the software. What are the telltale symptoms of this constituent trap? How can we spot it, out in the wild?
Well, the symptoms are everywhere once you start looking.
Yeah.
Really. We end up with what the author calls vanilla paste products. Everything feels bland, similar, kind of uninspired. You also see just overwhelming feature bloat. Tons of features you never use.
Yeah, definitely know that one.
Right. Confusing user experiences, planned obsolescence things designed to break or become outdated, and just a notable lack of real, breakthrough innovation. Essentially, products become designed for internal sale rather than external use. They're built to check boxes for a boardroom meeting, not to solve a real problem for you.
Okay, so it's really about building products to satisfy those internal checklists, like you said, not really serving our needs. That explains a lot about why things feel so generic sometimes. Can you give us some concrete examples, like across different industries? Where do we really see this playing out?
Absolutely. The tech industry is just ripe with examples. Your smartphone slowing down after 2 years. Classic symptom, right? Planned obsolescence, lack of real innovation. New devices are just The same as the last one, just newer, or think about social media algorithms. They're often optimizing purely for engagement for those metrics, sometimes, frankly, at the expense of your actual well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Or smart home devices,
Yeah.
frustrating interoperability issues, often designed to lock you into one company's ecosystem, not just provide seamless convenience.
Yeah, that resonates. It's like the smart device isn't always smart for my actual needs, just for the company selling it.
Exactly. And enterprise software, oh boy. That's often designed to impress the IT procurement teams, right? With this long list of features, all the checkboxes during the sales pitch. But then the poor end users who have to actually work with it every day, they're stuck navigating some clunky, overly complex interface. And it's not just consumer tech. Think about the military and government sector. The author points to the F-22 fighter jet. Looks amazing, right? Sexy. But designed through this incredibly slow, expensive, risk-averse process, starting way back like late 70s, early 80s, so by the time it's actually deployed decades later, well, the entire way of doing warfare had changed. Yeah. Drones, for example, became a much more effective, maybe less capable overall, but more effective solution for many tasks. It just shows how design by committee and, constituent demands can make something outdated before it even gets used properly. And even Apple, once famous for genuinely thinking different, creating revolutionary stuff. Now, their main revenue is from touchscreen devices mostly used for social media. The author argues they haven't really thought differently in over a decade. It's more marketing, incremental changes, not those big groundbreaking leaps.
That's a sobering thought that even a giant like Apple might fall into this. What about something more tangible, like cars, the automotive industry?
Oh yeah, moving to automotive and manufacturing. The modern pickup truck is a perfect illustration. Maybe you, the listener, just want a simple, reliable, say, $20,000 work truck. It's something basic. But what do you find on the lot? Mostly $40,000, $50,000, even $60,000 luxury vehicles, loaded with features you might not even want, like 15-inch touchscreens, multi-array microphones, turning headlights.
Yeah, stuff you didn't ask for.
Exactly. These are often just nice-to-haves that the bean counters and the internal constituents added to check boxes to compete on paper with other trucks, not because the target buyer actually wanted or needed them.
The classic checkbox warrior scenario, like building the car for the spec sheet, not the driver.
Precisely. And John Deere tractors. Another example from the book, farmers, they expect reliable, simple equipment from a brand with that kind of heritage. But now they're faced with these $500,000 combines that need over-the-air firmware updates. And if something breaks, often they can only be repaired at a dealer hours away. The farmer or the local shop can't fix it. It just shows how products get built sometimes to justify middle management KPIs or maybe some greenwashing arguments rather than serving the farmer's really direct need for simplicity and repairability right there in the field.
It really sounds like there's this serious disconnect, like a breakdown between maybe an engineer's brilliant, simple idea and what actually ends up on the market. What's driving that internal struggle? What stops those genuinely good ideas from making it through?
Well, it often starts with an engineer, right? Someone driven by curiosity. Maybe they have a really novel idea to solve a specific problem for a user. They bring this idea to management and boom, that's where it hits its first layer of bureaucracy. Managers, their primary lens is often, what's the revenue generation opportunity? Or what's the return on investment? Not necessarily the intrinsic problem-solving merit of the idea itself. They need to see the money, basically. And this is where the author uses that really vivid metaphor, a hammer turning into a useless multi-tool. The initial idea, maybe it was like a perfect hammer, hyper-targeted, really effective for one job, but as it goes through the process, it gets diluted, loaded up with additional, often unwanted features.
That's such a great image. A perfect solution getting totally muddled because too many people added their little bit. So if the original engineer gets kind of sidelined, who is driving all these additions? Who's making these products so bloated?
Well, this often happens as the original engineer gets pushed aside, maybe. And various other stakeholders, marketing, sales, maybe even legal, start adding their checkboxes. They do it to compete in the market on paper, or to meet some abstract revenue potential target, or sometimes, honestly, just to justify their own roles and departments. And the result is a product that does many things, but none of them well. And what's fascinating here, and the author really digs into this, is the role of middle management. Many managers, their incentives are structured around building KPIs that show this kind of artificial year-over-year growth. So they justify their existence by pushing out new product versions that are maybe only 2% different from the last one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they often only stay at a company for, say, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
They launch their slightly different product, hit their metrics, get promoted or move on, and they leave the now even more bloated and expensive product for the next person to deal with. Meanwhile, the customer ultimately suffers. It's like they're mastering the artificial art of justifying their existence, as the author puts it, rather than delivering real value.
Okay, so if this whole mess is the constituent trap, this focus on internal stuff, metrics, not the user, what's the way out? Is there a path forward? Can companies break this cycle and actually create products that truly serve us?
Well, there is a solution proposed, and it's pretty radical.
Mm-hmm.
The author calls it the idea economy.
Mm-hmm.
And the core concept is shifting the primary metric for justifying a product, shifting it away from purely financial or revenue metrics, things like TCO, total cost of ownership, ROI, return on investment, CAN-DGR, compound annual growth rate, shifting away from those towards the objective quality of the idea itself.
Whoa, okay, that's a huge shift. But I mean, in a competitive market, don't companies need those financial metrics? How would they even justify that kind of philosophy to shareholders who are always looking for growth, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the challenge the idea economy tries to address. It definitely demands courage, especially from product leaders. The core principles are pretty profound, actually. Companies would be forced, essentially, to value products that are tangibly, objectively, in the real world, a better product or solution than what is out there. Product leaders would need the guts to say things like, you know what? We can't hit this target right now with a genuinely better product. I think we should wait.
Wait, instead of launching something mediocre.
Exactly. Or even saying, the current solution that exists out there, it's actually good enough for now. Even if that means slowing down that short-term growth curve that shareholders might expect, product decisions would be guided by these key philosophical questions. Is this solving a direct problem the customer has? Is it objectively better or just the same as existing solutions? Is it cost-effective? Is it user-replaceable or repairable?
That sounds incredibly user-centric, actually focused on the user's reality. Can you give us an example where this thinking would really make a difference? Maybe like a hot topic like electric vehicles. How would the idea economy change that whole conversation?
Sure. EVs are a great example to illustrate this. Let's look at current battery technology, specifically lithium-based batteries. The author argues quite pointedly that this current tech, despite all the hype, is objectively pretty short-sighted. Why? Well, it's just not energy dense enough compared to gasoline, for one, and often the carbon footprint to produce the battery is higher than the carbon it offsets over its usable lifespan.
Right, so it's not just about zero tailpipe emissions, but the whole picture manufacturing materials.
Exactly. Plus, there are ethical concerns about sourcing the raw materials. The author mentions things like cobalt mining conditions. So under the idea economy, a company wouldn't just rush to market with what might be considered an inferior product based on, say, greenwashing endeavors or hitting arbitrary market share goals. No, instead they'd prioritize waiting for genuinely better battery technology. Something truly more energy dense, maybe 90% recyclable, with the demonstrably lower overall carbon footprint from cradle to grave. The focus shifts from just getting something out there to getting the right thing out there, even if it takes longer. It's about objective improvement, not just marketing angles. He even makes this provocative comparison, contrasting a 1980s Toyota Hilux pickup with a brand new EV, maybe using Tesla as a common example, arguing the old Hilux is in some ways an objectively better vehicle. Why?
How so?
Because of its legendary repairability, parts availability, reliability. It's proven, simple technology. It offers this pragmatic, long-lasting solution that really stands the test of time. Unlike many modern products, including some EVs perhaps, that require constant investment software updates and might become obsolete much faster due to complex, non-repairable components. And the idea economy isn't just about tech, it's about people too. It encourages promoting people who have a philosophy-guided design process from within the company, promoting them instead of just the KPI-obsessed middle managers. And it should lead to less tribalism, fewer silos in development, because fundamentally, an idea is a good idea because it's a good idea, right? It doesn't matter if it comes from the janitorial staff, a junior engineer, a salesperson, or even a customer at a trade show. That's the power of valuing the idea itself above internal politics or hierarchy.
Okay, so armed with this understanding then of the constituent trap and this potential alternative, the idea economy, what can you, the listener, do? How can we navigate this landscape of products better? How can we really vote with our dollars more effectively?
Well, now that you understand these forces at play, hopefully, you can start to see why so many products might feel like they fall short. And just by understanding that, you're already in a better position. You can maybe start advocating in your own way for a future where products actually reflect our real needs. The advice really is to be incredibly critical when you're voting with your dollars. Ask yourself tough questions, like, is this solution objectively, truly better than my current solution? Or am I just buying hype? Am I buying vaporware? Or this one, am I buying an idea or am I buying a product? The author makes a strong point that most things sold to you right now are actually selling an idea or an identity, not necessarily a superior physical product.
That's a really interesting distinction. Selling the idea, not the thing.
Yeah. For example, watch commercials really critically. If you're looking at, say, a $60,000 pickup truck commercial, is it actually selling you the truck? Is it objectively demonstrating its benefits, its capabilities compared to others? Or is it selling you an idea, like that rugged guts, glory, ram masculinity thing?
Yeah.
Or a certain lifestyle image? The call to action here is really to demand that sex appeal, uniqueness, and the creative spirit back in the products themselves. Stop being maybe swayed just by slick marketing talk and really analyze what you're being offered.
Yeah.
Ask if it truly serves your needs better than what already exists. Be discerning.
This has been, wow, incredibly insightful, a really fascinating deep dive. It truly shines a light on something that affects all of us every day, doesn't it? From the phones in our pockets to the cars we drive. And it definitely sparks some excitement, I think, about what products could be like if companies really shifted their focus back to us, the users.
It really does. And maybe just to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over, think about the future economy. We're potentially facing significant changes, right? Automation, AI, maybe increasing constraints on raw materials, maybe shifts in consumer spending power. In that kind of future, this model of just continuously churning out marginally different products every single year, well, it probably won't be sustainable. Just don't work long term. So the idea acme, it isn't just maybe a nicer philosophy for creating products that last and that people actually love. It might actually be a necessary model for human-centered, pragmatic innovation that truly serves our evolving needs as we move forward. And that, I think, offers a pretty compelling reason for all of us to start pushing for a future where genuine customer value really does come first.